So as it turns out, Michel, I'm just gonna say it. As it turns out, Michel is a trans man. At least that's his backstory anyway. Especially in like 1099. I don't think that's a very hard thing to do in like back then. Um, but definitely, I guess you would be called a demon or whatever if something like that back all the way in that time. But again, I kind of had an inkling though. You know, it wasn't entirely surprising. I kind of knew it. I kind of called it, at least in my head. I never said it out loud, but I kind of called it. I knew that was gonna be a thing when I saw like again. I mentioned before the servant, but also I remember seeing the painting. You know, something about the painting and like how Giselle went to his room and saw the painting about I saw like a painting of like a woman. And I was thinking like, wait a minute, he has no sisters. Who's that painting of? Most likely his past self. So I kind of knew it. Anyway, but here we go. What's this? Let's see. There are two things out of the ordinary about that baby. Okay, so it's about the Morgana, maybe. The first, its parents embraced. The second, they wholly rejected. Or maybe, well, maybe it's Michelle actually. I don't know. Something about a baby. I don't know. First embraced, first rejected. Although it was some time before the baby's second uh, peculiarity emerged. I have to say that word. Peculiarity? Peculiarity. And until it finally did, no one was any of the wiser. Not even the child itself. Its mother surely enjoyed that brief period of happiness before her child finally realized the truth. Blind to the fact that the moment it had let out its first cry, everything came crashing down. To this day, she still doesn't know the child she gave birth to, that she let loose a curse upon the world, a curse that turned angels into demons, humans into witches. My god, look at that. She's beautiful, isn't she? Okay, it's Antonin and Liddy. You know, the crazy one and the abusive one, I guess. Have you seen her laugh? Not yet, I haven't. At any rate, that color is certainly something else. God's gift to us. No, she's an angel sent from heaven. An angel. Ah yes, I can see it now, Liddy. Her white hair and almost translucent skin, it's beautiful. My, she opened her eyes. Maybe she felt you nearby. Do you like your father more than me? Is that it, sweetheart? Well, you shouldn't do that because in the future he's gonna do some terrible things to a certain maid. Gorgeous, aren't they? Such a deep, enchanting color. Just like two little jewels. Ah, that they are. A magnificent shade of red. I've never seen anything like it. And this is our child. She's special, I can feel it. We have to take good care of her. She needs a name, one that's just as special as her. Have you already chosen, Antonin? You were the one begging for a girl. You do it. Besides, I already had to rack my brain for the boys' names. Now it's your turn. Are you gonna let me? My, that's quite a lot of pressure. Well, name her after an angel then. Ooh, I like that. Alright then. We'll call her Michelle, after the Archangel Michael. Okay? So it is related, you know, I guess. I don't know how it works, but I guess maybe there's similar names. Like, I know Michelle, I think it is a French name, so maybe it's the French version of the word Michael. Anyway. You'll grow up to be beautiful as an angel, my Michelle. I've always wanted a little girl. With her snowy white hair, skin so pale you could see the veins beneath, and her ruby red eyes, she was a very peculiar looking little girl, and her mother showered her with love. She truly believed her daughter was an angel sent from above, born as a human child. The blessed babe, born a girl, was given an angel's name, Michelle. Me. Or me? Oh, me. Or am I narrating? As in like Michelle's narrating us? I don't even know. Oh, well, this is okay. This is interesting. Well, I wish I had. You know, this is weird. This is like a new kind of art, I guess. I wish we had. Again, I kind of wish we had this in Morgana's, you know, story, like a little bit, you know, instead of like a text words. And that's it. With like a, I'm gonna be honest, a very bland background, with some. I guess sometimes there's blood splotches. I guess, but I kind of wish there was faces. Right, that's the whole point of Vision Love. At the very least, just have faces, so that you can more easily empathize with the characters. But anyway, Checkmate. Didier. Oh my god, what are these faces? These faces remind me of like Final Fantasy or something, you know? They're like characters from Final Fantasy. Or like any kind of RPG. Gah. I see. That's what you did. Didier? How you say that, man? Didier. Curses, I completely overlooked that. I thought you were advancing with your pollens, but that was all a diversion. You're too short-sighted, Didier. You need to look at the big picture. Sometimes it's the tactician, not the soldier holding the sword. You got me. You're quite good at this, Michel. Oh yeah, I think Michel did mention that he was good at chess, I guess. Before to Giselle. I guess he was practicing, even in his childhood. What inspired you to take such an aggressive strategy? It was not inspiration. It was derivation. I can't say that word. Derivation. Chess in many ways similar to real world can't speak at all, can't read words. Chess is in many ways similar to real war tactics. My military texts. You haven't read all of them, have you? I have nothing but time. Impressive. Even I haven't read all the books in my room. You planning to join the order with that kind of knowledge? You jest. You're the one who's going to be a knight, Didier. That I am. War is the men's job after all. Well, I want you to be there to welcome me home. Is it Georges? I assume, oh yeah, these are the brothers, I think, right? Didier? I'm in a bit of a bind. Oh, hello there, Michel. I didn't know you were home, Georges. Just got back, yep. Oh, playing chess again, are ya? Let's see, what do we have here? Get away from the board. Yikes, you got trounced, huh? He got himself a big brother. As if you're any better. That's not funny, Georges. I cannot approve someone who can't keep up the flow of battle becoming a knight. Given our family's rank, you would eventually be put in charge of other soldiers. What, are you worried about me? No, I'm saying. I've been blessed with such a caring sister. But fear not. I have a guardian angel after all. Where's the logic in that? Sorry to interrupt your moment, but there's nobody listening to me. Now, don't pout. So what seems to be the problem, Georges? Yes, listen to this. The royal court is holding a swordsmanship show, and for some reason I was selected to participate. How unfortunate for you. I can already see you on the ground sobbing. Hey now, that's just mean. Besides, my hands were meant to hold a sword. Look at these dainty fingers. They're covered in calluses. Oh, dainty calluses. Tell me, why would they have an artist's sword fight? That's the whole point, I would think. No need to get so worked up. No one's expecting you to win. Maybe not, but we do have a name to worry about. And you know what that means, don't you? I'm going to lose. That's a given. But I want to do it in style. I feel bad for your sword. Oh, don't be like that. Oh, come on. Time's a-wasting. To the courtyard we go. Just so you know, if I train you, I'm going to train you right. All I want to know is how to look good. What is it, Michel? May I watch? Fine with me, but you know you can't go outside. I'll be watching you from the hall. I can open one of the windows facing the courtyard. Still, you need to be careful. You can't spend too much time in the sun. I know. This is interesting. I don't know. It's a very different visual novel like style all of a sudden. I don't know why like they're using like weird like cards. You know, it feels like cards they're using, like trading cards. They're like shuffling back and forth, which is kind of cool. I like the style. I wish they used it for Morgana's story. You know, it would be like a cool like contrast and everything. I mean, I guess maybe it'd be kind of cool. Like maybe anytime there's a flashback, they will use this style. But I don't know. It's weird. It's weird that now they're using it instead of in the other story. But anyway, I had two older brothers. The eldest, Didier, belonged to an order of knights that served the church, and below him was Georges, who served as a court artist. He was in all likelihood who would inherit the family estate, as knights were not formally allowed to own property. That's what? That's weird. Wait, that's the opposite though. Knights are allowed to own. Knights are the only ones who own property, actually? I mean, as far as I know, unless it's different, this somehow in this like time, in this era, and they're living in a particular country, for some reason knights don't own property. I always thought it was, yeah, knights do own property. They're the ones that do own property though, you know? As far as I know. Unless they're like, well, actually, well, maybe, okay, so, oh yeah, it says here, that's the context though. These are the knights that serve the church. Okay. So it's like crusaders. That's what they are. So not like knight in like a formal term, because, you know, normally if you are a knight, you would own land. But if you're like a soldier of the church, then it means you don't, because you're like a crusader or whatever. I assume that's what that means anyway. Nevertheless, the Belinga family name was upheld by Didier. And then there was me, the youngest, the only daughter. Physically, I was not in particularly good health. Because of the color of my skin, I was hypersensitive to sunlight. I rarely left the estate. My world was contained entirely within these walls, and perhaps out of some sense of pity or compassion, my two brothers spent a good deal of time with me. Lydia played chess with me, and Georgius taught me how to draw. Oh, okay, that's how you learn to draw and to do the portrait for Giselle. Among other things, they taught me how to read and write. For a girl, I was incredibly fortunate. The one thing I wasn't allowed to do, though, was hold a sword. While hardly anything unusual, it bothered me deeply, and had for as long as I could remember. If I had been told I couldn't do it because I lacked the strength, I probably would have accepted it. But the reason given was not that I was weak, but that I was a girl. And with each passing year, that smoldering frustration in the back of my heart grew larger. Come on, put your back into it. Well, like I said, all I want to do is put on a good show. Oh, you put on quite a show, unless you learn how to swing that sword properly. Give me a break. Out in the garden, my two brothers traded swings bare-chested. All I could do, though, was observe from afar. And every time I found myself forced to watch, I felt a sharp pain, like a needle piercing my chest. A needle that seemed to be growing ever thicker. My mother and my brothers loved me dearly, but that didn't change the fact that the outside world lay beyond my reach. I was trapped in the state by my own body. At first, I thought that was the root of my pain. But that answer seemed to contradict something inside me, something I couldn't explain, something I couldn't ignore even as a child. So I searched within myself, trying to find an explanation for the constantly swelling sensation of wrongness inside me. Day after day, I gazed in the cavern of my own heart. Wait. Okay, well, I think I said something. I don't know. I think I said something completely wrong last time. Wait. No. Okay, no, it was right. Okay, I'll say like it was weird. That he wanted to be a man, but no, that's correct, because technically, if he was a man, he would be allowed to inherit a estate. Because I was thinking about the estate and how, like, you know, gender plays a role, or like, you know, at least in 1099 anyway, or around that era, how it would like influence owning something. I guess no, it does make sense. Wait a minute, no. For some reason, I thought it was. I don't know. In my head, I don't know why. I thought it was the other way around for some reason. I thought it was like a man trying to be a girl, but that's not right. He is you know, at least he wants to be recognized as a man anyway. So it would make sense. That definitely would cause political strife. Okay, I don't know why. I thought for some reason, I remember saying like it didn't make a difference, but it does actually. I don't know why. I thought it was the other way around. But yeah, you know, Michel wanting to be a man and everything would cause political strife, because then it would like it'd be like, well, you know, who would own the estate then, you know? And if we recognize you as a guy, even though, you know, according to the laws, can't really do that, there's no laws for that, but technically if you were, then you would own the house. But then that would mean convincing everyone that obviously that was the case, and obviously that's hard to do, you know, in 1099. And so maybe I'm thinking one of the brothers might have thought like, well, maybe they don't believe Michel is doing it just to fulfill their own desires. Rather, it's like a sneaky political ploy to steal the assets of the Belinga estate. Maybe, you know, maybe that's would have caused some kind of like, you know, political intrigue and like subterfuge, and might have led to Michel being murdered by the end by a knight who I assume was from the church, which would mean maybe that was his brother. Anyway, I might be getting ahead of myself. Anyway, my, now what are the two of them doing out here? Georges was asked to do a swordsmanship show at the royal court, so Didier's helping him. Swordsmanship? Oh, I just can't stand those shows. Blades are so dangerous. I can't watch people swing at them at each other. Why did you come back to your room with me, Michel? I would love to teach you how to sew. But Mom, I want to watch them practice. Michel. First of all, you need to watch how you speak, young lady. You do not call me Mom, you call me Mother. This is what happens when you spend so much time around boys. As your mother, I don't approve of you playing chess or making art. A woman has no need for such skills. They only make you look insolent. But I want you to grow up to be a more respectable woman. That's my job and my dream as your mother. Now come. I would rather you looked at some fine embroidery with me than a couple of sweaty men. Sounds very boring, Mother. Yes, Mother. Now I understand more, you know, now I understand more why Michel wanted to be a man. You're my little girl after all. You spend time sewing and looking at embroidery? Sounds incredibly boring. Spending time with my mother was agonizing. Was it because her world was so isolated? No, that wasn't it. Her gentle voice, the sweet scent of her perfume, the way she constantly told me how much she loved me, and her diatribes about how wonderful it was to be a girl. Everything she did put so much pressure on me. But above all, she loved to say, "You're my little girl after all." There's nothing strange about that at all. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw the daughter of a noble. That was who I was. So the only thing wrong was how I felt. But every time I was faced with the reality of who I was, my heart wavered. I had no interest in learning how to embroider. I didn't understand why that was necessary. I knew what purpose it served. Everything she taught me I would need was when I was wed off to some noble boy, and it was my responsibility to learn those things. It didn't feel right, though. I couldn't accept the fact that one day I would be married. It was but an ominous shadow lurking in my future. Similar to Nellie, by the way. In Mel's time. I would prefer ravaging the books in Didier's room than having a conversation with my mother. It's ironic, though, because, you know, doing these things, you know, not really, I mean, obviously modern times, not as strange, but also just in general, even in medieval times, there were examples of women, you know, not really just accepting their role in society as just women. I mean, Joan the Arc, for example, is an example, Joan the Arc is an example, I guess. Tales of heroes of old and dauntless soldiers. Military texts written by tacticians in the midst of war. Thinking about them set my heart aflutter and made me think about my brother. He was training to be a knight. I envisioned armor flecked with rust, a longsword glimmering with the blood of savages. Soon I found myself in my fantasies imagining how the sword would feel in my hands, the sensation that held beneath my fingers, swinging it gallantly like my brother. How heavy was it? How much muscle would I need to carry it? Gotta do some push-ups. I don't know. I mean, when we saw Michel, you know, later on in the house, I don't think he was doing his push-ups. It seemed like, anyway. He seemed quite fragile. How much impact would I feel in my hands when I struck something? How restricted would my vision be wearing a helmet? How much did it weigh? How hot was it inside? I had no way of answering any of those questions, though. I mean, all I'm saying is that you don't necessarily need to be a man, you know, to be a soldier in war. I don't think it's that's a very romanticized view of war, I feel like, anyway. But, I mean, I guess that's a nobility. Because I imagine, and I could be wrong, maybe definitely like a real historian would definitely just have an aneurysm, you know, because I'm probably saying something completely wrong. But I think that women not participating in war is a kind of a myth. I mean, they did participate in war, but obviously if they were rich or of noble, you know, descent, it would be rare. There are some exceptions, I think, but definitely rare. However, if you were just a peasant in like a village and you were like town militia, you wouldn't be choosy, right? If you were like a woman, you would definitely still be in the front lines if you were attacked by bandits or like attacked by soldiers from a different country or whatever. You wouldn't be choosy about your militia, right? It's more like expectations of like nobility rather than actual people just living their lives as like the lower class. I feel like anyway. I think I could be wrong though. I don't know. Anyway, kill me now. Kill me now. I have some cloth if you'd like to wipe yourself off. Oh yeah, thanks. Ugh, I'm so dead. You were at it for a long time. I've never known D to half-ass something once he gets started, which I guess is what makes him knight material, but... Are you opposed to him becoming a knight? Well, you know, I kinda assume he'd inherit the state and had no taking care of everything. So it's like, why's he gotta go and be some priest's whipping boy? Don't tell him I said that, though. He wants to fight for the greater good. I don't know. Despite the name, he wouldn't be doing much fighting himself. Anywho, someone as passionate as him might be able to make changes for the better. Changes? He knows what condition the order is in. That's why he's joining. Figure he wants to whip into shape, melt him down, and forge the whole thing. I mean, all I think about is crusades. I mean, I remember, at least in history anyway, crusades, you know, the basically armies raised up for the church to, you know, do like religious wars. Often they were a bit of a mess actually in medieval times. You know, often they were like sent towards just like European countries, you know, themselves because of some like political you know, messy stuff that happens. And otherwise, they would be sent to very far off places to go to supposed holy places to claim it for themselves, and often would fight, you know, other religions, I guess, because of so-called blasphemy, or what do you call it? Like, there's a word for it, like heathens, I guess. Heathens is the word, you know? They'll use it as an excuse to start wars for other countries and everything. And often, those lands were then given control to, you know, nearby lords who wanted that power for themselves. Again, just use it as like an excuse to just take land or whatever. And they would cover it up as obviously like a religious war. Assuming that's the case anyway. I mean, I think that's what they're saying, right? A knight for the church. I assume that's for like a crusader or whatever, right? I don't know. So he might be able to change things. But what are you muttering about, Michel? Hey, whoa, hold it. The pain I felt in my chest when I smelled the sweat emanating from George's body, when I looked at his slender but distinctly male build, I was convinced it was admiration. That I wanted to become a knight too. Maybe the discomfort I felt was because I wanted to be like him. Would it all go away if you were able to change the rules and I could join the order as well? I was positive it would. Didier. Michel, hold on. You can't come barging into my room unannounced. I'm trying to change. We need to talk. I said stop. You're a girl. You can't just walk in on a man as he's changing. I see no reason for you to be so self-conscious. Listen to me, Michel. Georges tells me you're planning to overhaul the order. He told you that? No, I hardly have such grand aspirations. Don't be coy. I believe you will have what it takes to do it, Didier. What's gotten into you? You're unusually fiery today. So I want to ask you a favor. When you have enough influence in the order, I would like you to make me a knight too. You what? I'm tired of the way Mother treats me. Always saying I can't do this or that because I'm a girl. I want to learn how to swing a sword. I don't want to do embroidery, that sucks. I don't care about jewelry or fancy clothing. Michel, what's gone into you? I'm so much more interested in the world you live in, Didier. So please. Well, I'll be. I suppose we must have let ourselves spend too much time with you. Not you too, that's exactly what Mother said. First of all, Michel, you don't have the strength to hold a sword. And I'll train until I do. If that doesn't work, I still have my mind. You know good and well I could. People are not chess pieces, Michel. But Didier. But above all, you're missing the most important point. I will not for any reason become the kind of man who makes a woman take up a sword. Didier. This may seem normal to you, growing up with two brothers, but I want you to listen to me, Michel. Men and women walk different paths. Men wield swords and fight against dangerous enemies, and they do so to protect the weak, women and children. I am here to protect you and your mother. You're no different than her. You don't treat me any different than her. Honestly, what's got into you, Michel? Why wouldn't I treat you like a daughter of the Bellinger estate? Your brother and I were never meant to make you think. Forget it. What? I'm sorry. I knew what I was asking was foolish. Oh? But I thought you would understand how I feel. Even just a little bit. What was I expecting him to understand? Even I didn't understand the things I felt. I wanted to know what had gotten into me far more than he did. What I had done was no better than throw a temper tantrum. Was I that desperate to become a knight? No. I just thought that was the key to the chains of my heart, laid down that road, but ultimately there was nothing. Assuming Didier had agreed, assuming I did become a knight, it wouldn't do anything for the core problem. As I dashed from my brother's room, I snuck a peek at him. His face was filled with an intense perplexity. And how could I blame him? I had tried to push a dozen different ideals on him at once, filled myself with the vain hope that he would somehow be able to make sense of me when I couldn't even make sense of myself. And now bubbling with the unwarranted anger at being let down, I fled to my own chambers. I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been for him. Okay, so I get it, like, you know, obviously becoming a knight is not enough, you know. I was saying before, you know, it's not unheard of that women become a knight. Again, I looked it up, actually, you know, there has been some examples of ladies actually becoming knights and fighting in the war and everything. It's just, you know, not normal. It's not common anyway. It's not easy to do, obviously, but it is possible, but that's not what Michel wants, obviously. That's not the core of his problem. That's why he said the root of his issue. It was the spring of my 14th year. Heavy clouds filled the sky, blocking out the sun and giving the impression of late evening all throughout the day. I, for one, preferred it when the sun wasn't out. Not that sunlight would kill me, but it was bright enough the whole world was so white I could hardly see a thing. Which meant I could only go outside on days when the weather made most everyone else gloomy. As I was meandering through the courtyard, I spotted someone I had never seen before. Okay. Who are you? Who is this person? This is a new person. I mean, I guess, well, I mean, Didier and Georges are new, I guess, as well. So I guess, yeah, they would introduce new characters. I don't know why I was so surprised. A warm breeze blew past, setting up a swirl of flower petals. The girl's dress hung lightly over her frame, tracing her gentle curves. Who are you? I asked bluntly, and the girl twirled around, smiling. My apologies. You just have such a beautiful courtyard here, and I let myself in for a little walk. Oh, it's Amy. Yeah, Amy. I mean, that was his first crush, right? Was it also? I can't. That name is so familiar though. Did he mention it somewhere else? I think. I said like maybe that was also the name of the painter, right? Like his father, but I think that was a different name. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long. Long chestnut hair flowed over round feminine shoulders. It swayed slightly in the wind. A cloud of melancholy dissipated in the light of her smile. You must be Michel. You're just as pretty as I heard. And you are? My name is Amy. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Finally meet me? What's she talking about? As I stood there baffled by this strange woman, she stepped toward me, kissing me softly on the cheek. I'm thrilled to make your acquaintance, Michel. Her voice was like someone pouring honey into my ear, electrifyingly sweet. I'm Georges' fiancé. And it also stuck another needle to my chest. She was a noble girl by the name of Amy Gilbert. Though only 15, she was the very image of a refined, polished to a shine. No one had told me my brother was to be married. It came out of nowhere. It seemed like I was the only one who didn't know. That evening, when the family gathered around the table for supper, Amy was there too. And they prepared an extravagant feast for the occasion. Hopefully it wasn't full of, witch's blood. But my father, Antonin, looked so proud of his two boys, Didier soon to be receive his assignment, and Georges soon to be wed. The banquet proceeded smoothly. Now down the air that we were a happy family, but my mind was elsewhere. I found myself unconsciously chasing Amy with my eyes, watching the way those slender fingers grip her spoon, her full lips parting to allow a piece of fruit in. Her deep red tongue, visible for about the briefest of moments. The way all the muscles on her face seemed to relax in bliss as sweet juices seep into her mouth. That sounds lewd. The way she spoke, so soft and gentle, letting each sound hang in the air just briefly before intoning the next. She was distinctly feminine, in a different way than my mother. Apparently, Amy was going to be living at the Bollinger estate for some time. Mother was pleased to have another girl around. But more specifically, she was relieved I found someone other than my brothers for me to spend time with. I had assumed I would hate being around another girl. Surely she wouldn't be able to play chess after all. Silly girls. They would never know how to play chess. Apparently? Actually, I don't know. Why is chess... I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it was somehow associated with masculinity. These days, chess is just for nerds. It's not necessarily manly or girly. It's just for nerds, I would say. It's just like a nerd thing. But I guess back then, maybe it was like a masculine thing. Also, painting apparently was also not. His mother did say apparently, painting and chess is for boys somehow. I don't really associate it with masculinity, but I guess maybe it's from the lens of modernity. Modernity is that the right word? I don't know. These days I don't associate it with like it being manly or like girly necessarily one way or the other. It's weird, but I guess it was maybe back then. I don't know. But for some reason, I felt much less suffocated around her than my mother. Because she was pretty, I guess. I don't know. One night, Amy's family and an array of nobles from both houses' social circles assembled at the estate for a party. A din the likes of which I had never heard in my life filled the great hall. Everywhere I looked, there were people. Servers scrambled every which way, silverware clanged against dishes in an almost constant hum. Voices from all directions. I felt moderately ill. AD, I feel like we're quickly short on waiters. These don't look good for us. And who was it who went about inviting everyone who came across again? Who are those people? They're artists like me. I met them at the court. Let's see, we have some painters, composers, sculptors, troubadours, poets, writers, you name it. None of them have any connection to the Gilberts or Bollingers. Sure they do, they're my friends. And this is me and Amy's party. You can blame your friends elsewhere. I hope you realize you have a reputation to uphold. Off in one corner, several men, presumably George's friends, gathered in a circle. They stood out from the other aristocrats, both in appearance and the air they gave off. The clothes they wore, the embroidery hidden beneath their jacket cuffs, the manner of speech, the way they held themselves. They were, simply put, a far cry from the hard-headed Didier's ideal party guests. Even watching them from afar, it was clear my two brothers ran in very different crowds. The only reason headstrong Didier and free-spirited Georges were able to get along at all was because they were brothers. If only they had been strangers, I doubt their paths would cross much, and if they did, those intersections would be quite rocky. Hey, come here, guys! George's shouting voice pulled my preoccupied mind back to the surface. He summoned his friends, and then led them to where I stood. What are you doing high in the corner, Michel? I didn't even notice you. Allow me to introduce you to a few of my friends. No, George just put his hands on my shoulders, peeling me off the wall and standing me in front of his male friends. Socialization was the last thing on my mind. I searched for Didier, hoping he would come to my rescue, but he was off trading pleasantries, facing away from me. This is my baby sister Michel, be nice. Georges, I don't... Gracious, your skin is even more pale than I imagined. It's like something out of a fairy tale. And why have you never brought her with you to the court? She'd be a sure hit. And how old are you now, 12 mayhap? Now, don't treat the lady like a child. I have you know she's 14. All the more reason she'd be out there making friends. The whole corp, if they knew you had such a gorgeous sister, George. The whole corp would flip or whatever. Don't be a brute, my man. Our little angel has to be kept inside for personal reasons. Uh-oh. Sounds like I haven't been showing the lady her due respect. I've yet to even properly introduce myself. How rude indeed. Their last grated my nerves, and so did the way George spoke as though I was his property. I mean, back then, you know, kind of were. They looked like they were praising me, which made me sick to my stomach. I mean, Nellie felt the same. Nellie felt the same way. You know, it's funnily enough, very similar. I've been paying enough attention to notice the man who asked if I was 12, and the rest of them too, examining from head to toe with search of curves. I was indeed underdeveloped for 14, which I mean makes sense. You're 14. I don't know, 1099, or at least, well, not really 1099, around 1089, I guess. I don't know exactly when, but I guess 10 years before. It'd be 1089, maybe. I mean, it depends on when. I guess. We know his age actually. He's 27. He's 27 at. I mean, I can do some math. I can't do math right now. I'm actually a little. I'm a little tired actually because I didn't get much sleep last night, and so my brain is fried. But like, I guess he'd be 27, 1099, and like he's 14 right now. I don't know. Figure it out yourself. I'm too lazy. But I guess you know it'll be that around that time. But what did that matter? I didn't want a body shaped like Amy's or my mother's. Now then, milady, a proper greeting. The man got down one knee before me. For a split second, I didn't comprehend what he was doing. What, Michel? He's waiting. He whispered to my ear. That's when it all came back to me. The traditional greeting performed between a man and a woman. Come on, Michel, don't tell me you forgot what to do. I knew the process. I had that knowledge. Mother had taught me the rules, showed me the procedure. I was to present my hand to the man for him to kiss. All I had to do was hold out my hand, but I was frozen. My body fought tooth and nail against the simple act. The thought of that man putting his lips on my skin sent a chill through me. And I was not really into guys, basically. You know, I mean, there's two things going on here. I feel like that are not mutually, or yeah, well, what's the word? Is it mutually exclusive, or are they not mutually exclusive? I always get confused. I always get confused about the word mutually exclusive. Actually, I don't know what that means. Actually, now that I think about it, I always read that word. I don't know what it means necessarily. Like mutually exclusive, like two things being mutually exclusive. I don't know. Anyway, but basically, there's two things going on. You know, for Michel, one, he wants to be more like a guy, obviously, you know. But second, he's more into, you know, his preferences lie with pretty girls than guys, I guess, as well. Obviously, you know, not necessarily. I guess I would say not mutually exclusive, but you know, those are two things that are definitely, I guess, a thing for him. Anyway, the thought of the man putting his lips on my skin sent a chill through me. I'm just not really into guys, I guess, is what Michel's trying to say. Why? Why was this a traditional greeting? Why did I have to go through this? Michel? But at the sound of George's frantic voice, my arm creaked up from my side. Then I remembered that despite being his friends, there was still nobility. As wanton as his social interactions may have been, he still had a reputation to maintain, and I understood that. I also understood that as their sister, it was my responsibility not to do anything that might tarnish either of my brothers' names. Also, by tradition, the man wasn't supposed to actually kiss the woman's hand. The proper way to do it was required he simply mimic the act, rather than make real contact. That much I could handle. The man kneeling before me gave an uncomfortable chuckle at my reluctance, shrugged, and reverently took my hand in his. And then he pressed his lips firmly against my skin. There was a vaguely warm sensation in the back of my hand for the briefest moment. What do you... Reflexively, I smacked the man's hand away. George's eye went wide in horror. The man gave another playful shrug. I was merely offering you a greeting, milady. Or is that even a new experience to you? Your innocence is truly precious. I was half a second away from throwing a barrage of insults, but I bit my tongue and stopped off instead. What? Michel? Hey, come back, Michel. I spent all that time convincing myself I couldn't humiliate my brothers, but now I wouldn't hear a word of it. I had drawn a fair bit of attention, and other people tried to stop me too, but I brushed them all off, marching my way out of the great hall. Alright. Let me drink some water, actually. I feel so dirty. You call that a greeting? No, that was no greeting, that was... I'll be taking that. I say, practically swiping a glass of water off passing where you're straight. I'm drinking water too. Immersion. Oh, actually, well, she's not drinking. Or rather, I guess, well, it's a... Well, Michel's a she right now, but, you know, later on. That's why I'm referring to he, because, you know, because it's going to be a he. Anyway. With it, I wash my hand by the window facing the courtyard. Okay, it's not drinking water, it's cleaning water is what I'm doing. No matter how much water I poured over it, I couldn't erase the sickening sensation of his mouth on my hand. Oh, yes, disgusting cooties. Ew, cooties. So I rubbed it up my sleeve until my skin was bright red. I wanted to feel something else, anything else, even pain. Think before you act, Georges. What were you doing inviting people like that into our home? I was angry and had every right to be. He had not performed the proper greeting. Even in jest, he had no business actually putting his lips on my hand. It was not acceptable behavior for an aristocrat. He was a guest. He should have been ashamed. Was I angry that he had been disrespectful? No, that wasn't the reason. It was... That was not very nice of you, running off like that. At the sound of his voice, I couldn't turn back. I felt a sickening warmth almost directly against my back. The man from the great hall grabbed me by the wrist, spun me around, and pressed me against the wall. The bitter scent of wine wafted from above. What the hell are you doing? I tried a second time to get away from him, and that was when reality sunk in. I couldn't do it. All the strength I could muster wasn't enough to make the man's hand budge. My arms were locked in place. I didn't think he was especially strong either. He's hardly built like Didier, and still I couldn't move an inch. You've got a tongue like a boy, milady. But now I know some people thought of that these days. Can't say I'm mine myself. Let go. Had I always been this feeble? Were my arms truly so worthless I couldn't have escaped this brute's grip? And that's what I'm saying, shouldn't have been doing your push-ups. Should have been doing your push-ups. Why do I have to get stuck with this body? Now, just so we're clear, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm no monster, I promise you that. Then why are you holding me against the wall? Because I want a chance to try and woo you. I apologize if it made you uncomfortable back there, but the second I had laid my eyes on you, I knew you were a keeper. You know, I mean, you're making him even more uncomfortable, I feel like. This is not how you make someone comfortable, by locking their arms and pressing them against a wall. I don't know, maybe it was different back then. Anyway, then let go of me. But if I do that, you'll run away. It's my personal rule to never let go of anything I like. Your brother says you can't go outside, so if I set you loose now, I might never get to catch you again. I wanted to vomit. Apparently taking my signs for approval, the man perked up and kept going. If you're not accustomed to being around men, well, why not use this as an opportunity to get familiar? Not a half bad idea if I do say so myself. I think we can get along quite well. Besides, I'm a minstrel. Spend some time with me and I'll write you all the songs you could possibly want. You know? This is not... I mean, even if Michel simply accepted that she was a woman, I don't think this is appropriate anyway. I mean, a minstrel? I mean, come on. Probably doesn't make a lot of money being a minstrel. Anyway. Get away from me. You really do have the most striking eyes. It makes me want to keep an eye for myself. With a muse like that, I could write the most incredible songs you ever heard. I say get back, you creep. Huh, that's odd. That one's never failed me. The man brought his face in just inches from mine, peered into my eyes. I could feel his hot, wine-stench breath against my cheeks. It gave me the chills. I couldn't understand why this was happening to me. Panic and confusion had my heart racing. Go and try your luck with someone else. I'm not interested. You soon enough, darling. Okay. This is uncomfortable. This is what you don't do in real life. You know, when she says no, she means no. She's simply never known a man's touch. Also, she's 14, by the way. I mean, again, I guess this isn't surprising back then, but you know, still icky. He drew closer. He was already practically on top of me, but still he closed in. Closer and closer. The world faded out. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't feel his rising body heat so near it made me nauseous, or I could feel his rising body heat so near it made me nauseous. My eyes flung open, but there's nothing there. I could only feel. I couldn't move. My body wouldn't budge. In my mind, I kicked the man away, pulled my fist back, slammed it into his jaw again and again and again until his face was unrecognizable. Again and again and again, I beat him. Reality would have none of that. Michel! Hey, what do you think you're doing? 3 seconds, 10 seconds, longer. I had no idea how much time I had lost. But this I knew Georges had the man by the collar. I fell back against the wall, staring absent-mindedly as the two struggled. They traded blows, they traded insults. Before long, they had drawn a crowd. While they went at it, I had distractedly drifted away. I only had one place to go. I didn't even bother to light a candle. I just stared into the darkness. My heartbeat was muttering aloud in my otherwise silent chambers. What had happened? What had he done to me? Why could I do anything? Last thing I wanted to do was cry. Tears only served to worsen my humiliation, only magnify how wretched I was, only made me more effete. I bit down my lip hard. I had no need for that trash in my body. I dug my nails in my arms. I had no need for that trash in my body. All of this, every last bit of it. That was why I was the way I was. I didn't know how to put it into words. I didn't know how to express this boundless frustration within me, but enough wordless groaning. Or after enough wordless groaning, a single word slipped from my lips and it felt incredibly right. God damn it. I knew good and well a girl should not be using such words. Even Didier and Georges would have gotten an ear from a mother and father if they were caught saying that. Regardless. God damn it. It was the most fitting word I could come up with to represent even the smallest bit of my anger and loathing. I knew all I was doing was shifting the blame, that all it would accomplish was making me look pitiful. But I would take that over crying like a girl any day. Well, I mean, crying like a girl. That implies that crying is a bad thing, you know? It's okay to cry. Anyway, I let loose a sigh that was halfway to being a scream, then started clawing wildly in my hair. I wanted to yank out every last damn strand of it. I didn't want it. I didn't want any of it. Any of this body. But in that case, what did I want from my body? Michel, may I come in, Michel? It was George's voice, slightly muffled through the door. The man who invited those people into his house. I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't hold that against him. Michel. At the same time, he also come to my rescue. Besides, I hated myself the most. I despised myself for being so helpless. I'm sorry, Michel. I didn't mean to hurt you. It's not locked. After a few moments of silence, George just stepped into my room. Your hair's a mess, Michel. My God, you're bleeding. That was when I first noticed a stinging sensation in my lower lip. A metallic taste spread through my mouth. I'd been biting it much harder than I realized, and there was a lot more blood than I expected. A trail of it was running down my chin, seconds were spilling to my clothes when George just wiped it away. I'm really sorry, Michel. He can be a real ass when he drinks. And he's a bit of a womanizer at that. I never expected to try to go after you, though. I'm really sorry, I didn't mean for this to happen. But, you know, there's a chance he may have generally taken a liking to you, and that just makes it worse. Sorry. You're right. You want to be with a man you like, I understand. He ran his hands through my hair, as if trying to calm me down, at the same time cleaning up the mess I had made of it. He made me feel like I was some kind of plaything, a joke of a doll. I don't want to be with anyone. I would never, ever be comfortable with a man putting his hands on me like that. I mean, I guess, I don't know, it's his preference, I guess. I feel like it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, you know. I feel like it's more of a case of you just don't like this guy, and obviously he's an asshole. I think anyway. But just to say all men, you know, don't appeal to you, I don't know, I guess really it's just Michel's, you know, preference. It's not my opinion that matters. But anyway. However, I'm sure you'll find someone eventually, Michel. Someone that feels right for you. I feel kind of awful for introducing you to him, but there are plenty of men in the world. You might not be interested now, but that'll change soon. It's part of growing up. You'd be best off forgetting today ever happened. I was dead certain, but apparently that was enough to convince him. The very idea that I might one day meet a man who wanted to touch me made my skin crawl. Why? Why did I feel like this? Was I not just interested in men? At least, I don't know. I mean, maybe she's not interested in, or I keep saying she. She's a she now, it's a he later. But Michel's not interested, I guess, in these type of men anyway, I would say. At the very least. No, if that were the case, I wouldn't admire my brothers' bodies. I didn't have any aversion to men. In fact, I enjoyed spending time with my brothers far more than indulging my mother in her woman's world. What I couldn't understand was the particular look men would sometimes give me. But why? Why did I not like this? I had no answer. My thoughts were only going in circles. Are you okay, Michel? He peered down at me, his face twisted in concern, but I couldn't answer him. How was I supposed to articulate this? My anger, my frustration, my irritation, my fear. I had no confidence he would understand. Georges, how's Michel? Amy's voice came from the doorway. Inexplicably, I felt like someone had stuck their hand in my chest and was now squeezing my heart, like I'd just been caught in a compromising situation but the last person I wanted to see me. Yeah, she's doing well. Aren't you? Yes, I'm fine. Glad to hear it. I was clearly lying, not even looking at him in the eyes when I said that, but that seemed to have gone over Georges' head. Amy, on the other hand, you don't look fine at all, she said, a hint of pain in her voice, and then entered the room. Georges, father was asking for you. He says it's time to bring the gathering to a close. You should get going. I'll stay here with her. Oh, is he? Alright then. Sounds good. Once the sound of Georges' footsteps had faded into nothing, Amy took a seat beside me without warning and wrapped her arms around my shoulders. It's much better to talk to another girl at times like these. My heart leapt into my throat, but beyond the shock I just found myself welcoming the warmth. It was pleasant, not like the man's. That must have been terrifying, but don't worry, you're safe now. It wasn't really, no. No need to pretend, sweetie. If a man had pinned me against the wall, I'd be scared too. I mean it, I wasn't scared. I'm just disappointed in myself. Alright, I believe you. You're a strong girl, Michel. There are many who would have been scared. I'd be sure to give Georges a stern talking to about his choice in friends. Something I learned today is that he's somewhat of a pushover. You're a lot more tenacious than I thought. As a woman in this world, you have to be. If you're not, well, you'll figure out soon enough, Michel. Of course, even as strong as you are, I'm sure it'll still be difficult to forget what had happened to you today. Georges had told me to forget it as soon as possible, and Amy told I wouldn't be able to. Was it the difference of their individual perspective? Or was it the difference between the way men and women thought? I wasn't sure. As my hand rested against her breast, a bit of my frustration slipped out. I couldn't move my arms at all. He didn't even seem all that strong. I couldn't believe that I was really so weak. Well, that's just the way of the world, Michel. Men are physically stronger than women, so you almost never overpower one. Well, statistically. I mean, on average, yes, that's true. But, that doesn't mean you can't be stronger than a man. Necessarily. You just gotta work out a little bit. You won't be stronger than everybody, but that's also the case if you're a guy anyway. If you're a guy, there's always just genetic limitations anyway. The strongest men are always... you always compare the strongest men to the strongest women, but not everyone is at their, physical peak in terms of genetics. Unless you use, performance-enhancing drugs, I guess. But then you go into that whole sort of thing. But anyway, I always think, I always question that, People always say that. I always see that on the internet in particular whenever someone mentions like sports, Olympic stuff like that. Again, it is true, but on average, not everyone is an athlete, I feel like anyway. So women can be stronger than men sometimes. It just depends, on the men. There definitely are just genetic differences, but that's only if you're comparing only men and women. I would say like some men are not, some men are stronger than other men, and there's nothing you can do about it as well. That's just always a thing. So, it's not always just men versus women, but also men and other men. So, like, what can you do? It's just genetics, right? And sometimes also just in general, how much time you spend working out. Some I don't know, I would say definitely I'm not like an athletic person. I don't spend a lot of my time working out. I definitely had a stint though, actually, where I did really like working out, but I didn't really get like big muscles or anything like that, because that wasn't just really my desire, I guess. And I feel like not everyone desires that as well, even if you're a guy, even if you're expected, to get big muscles. Not everyone wants that, do they? I don't know. That's just my opinion anyway. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent. But men are physically stronger than women, so you almost never overpower them. You're not weaker than a normal girl. I would say though, I don't know. Again, like, you should be do your push-ups. I feel like Michel, because he seems rather frail anyway, because of his condition, because he stays inside all day and everything. That's just a result of that too. I feel like, not just because he has a woman's body, but anyway. But don't blame yourself. Though it wasn't the consolation I had hoped for, her words still filled me with warmth. I'd exploded my own weakness to hear more of that soothing voice, and I alone knew how foolish I was in doing so. Rather. But alright. I guess we're just learning. This is basically Michel's backstory. It's gonna all end in tragedy, by the way. Just like everything else in this goddamn visual novel, which it's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't mind it, actually. It's better than, nothing happening, I guess. I don't mind tragedies, but, it just keeps happening, I guess. It keeps happening. But, I'm just interested in what Giselle meant by it was disgusting. Was it the real Giselle, or was it just an illusion? Because I'm still thinking, like, come on, Giselle, calling Michel disgusting after all 1,000 years. You didn't seem to mind when, he was just a girl, I guess, in like the other times, where he just didn't, I guess, feel that. And it was weird actually when he came back as a white hair girl. He didn't seem to mind being a woman, so I don't know if that was somehow, I guess, maybe it's your environment as well that kind of influenced his decision. In 1099, obviously he wants to be represented as a man, but like in other times, maybe not. I don't know. That's a thing too. Like, I imagine even in real life, if you were to have lived a different life, you would have different opinions and, different ideas about yourself as well, and different choices to make. But anyway, I am interested in learning the rest of his story. I guess we'll see.